Well, good time zone, everyone, wherever and whenever you are seeing this. It is approximately 11:30 at night here in the UK. And we're going to do a little bit of what I hope is a fairly exciting introduction to some of our newest members, oh dear, of the Legless Zoo. The utterly adorable and incredibly endearing clutch of 6 baby ovum giant African land snails. So these 6 were hatched on March 24th of this year. Oh, little, okay, you got it. So they are still quite young, but as you can probably see, let me just put my hand in there so you can get a little bit of a size comparison. Apologies for the chipped nail varnish there. We're not doing well on that front. These guys are getting pretty big. So we have 6 in here. You can probably see some color on their shells there. That is because at the moment I cannot reliably tell these 6 apart from each other. These colors have been added with Posca paint pens, which after doing a bit of research, I found out about as invertebrate safe pens that beekeepers actually use to mark and identify the queens in their hives. So if it's safe for bees, I am pretty certain and comfortable it's going to be safe for these guys, especially as it's only going on their shells. And we are, of course, avoiding the growing edge part of their shells as well. So this just lets me tell them all apart. And it also means that I can then weigh them and I can track their growth and make sure that they're all doing okay. So let me introduce you to the kids. We have over here with the green, this is Bazooka. They are currently the largest of the 6. The second largest at the moment is here with the white. This is Nordstern, currently tucking into some dried shrimp. We then have the joint third largest, which is Vagabond over here with the black on their shell and Bembo with the blue. Then followed up by Trebuchet, who is here tucking into some calcium with the purple on their shell. And then finally followed our smallest little baby over here is the one who just fell sideways into the water bowl. This is Zapfino, who is at the moment the smallest of the 6. So, like their parents, these are, of course, all named after fonts or typefaces, because we are using names that have no gender association, because, of course, these snails are hermaphrodites, which means that they are both male and female. So there we go. So these are the babies. They are doing really well so far. Unlike many snail species, I learned with these guys that ovums actually lay quite small clutches. So 6 to 9, I believe, if I recall correctly, is pretty typical for this species. The adults actually laid 7 eggs, but by the time I found them, the adults had crushed one of the eggs. So only 6 were remaining. And I wasn't sure if they would hatch successfully, but as you can see, they very much did. And they are absolutely thriving. You might see a few little flies round about here. These are fruit flies. So at the Legless Zoo right now, we have a little bit of a fruit fly problem. It's the middle of summer in England, and essentially leaving out fruit and veg like this inevitably attracts fruit flies. We do have springtails in the soil here to help keep them in check a little bit, but unfortunately we've not been able to get rid of them entirely. There are still a few flying around and getting in the way, but it is something that I am actively trying to deal with, and I have a few fly traps around this room so that when I open the lid and kind of shoo them out a little bit, that will hopefully catch most of them. So, yes, as I was saying, these guys lay pretty small clutches, and they do so, again, compared to many other snails in general and other species of gals, they do so relatively infrequently. I've actually had the 3 adults for almost a year now, and this is the first and only clutch they have laid so far. With that being said, that means that I don't really know, because ovums have a more conservative reproductive strategy, that is, they lay fewer eggs and they do it less often. I don't know what the incidence rate is of runts for this species. I couldn't really find a lot of information on that. Essentially, if you don't know what that means, in any clutch of snail eggs, there will often be individuals who are kind of less genetically robust, a little less healthy. They will tend to not get as big, and they, will have reduced growth and often reduced lifespan compared to non-runts. Generally, you identify runts by being smaller and by having slightly deformed shells. I don't see any deformed shells with these guys. They're all actually very close in size, except for, as I mentioned, Zapfino. So if there is any likelihood of a runt in this clutch, it's unfortunately going to be this little friend over here. In terms of what that means for their prospects, I don't know. I have read that runts can actually live pretty normal lives. You just don't really want to breed them, and they often won't live as long. At the moment, these guys are very young, and Zapfino is still growing, albeit they are quite a bit smaller than the others. So we'll see how they get along. I don't know if they'll catch up. They might do. I don't know if their size difference is normal variation or if it is an indication that they're a runt. We'll just have to see how they get on. Certainly the rest are very, very close in size. There's only about 10 grams between, the largest, the second largest, the third largest. So I'm fairly confident that the rest of them are very unlikely to be runts, because they are all pretty similar in size and they are all growing at a fairly similar rate. So we'll see how these little guys get along. I will keep you updated with their progress. So these are the newest babies in the Legless Zoo, and we will see how they get on. They are all together in a tub at the moment. It's a fairly large tub. They do have plenty of space. Probably, though, they've grown quite a lot in the last couple of weeks. So I think next month I will be getting another one of these, and I will split them into 2 sets of 3, just so that they have more space as they grow, and also there's less competition for resources. At that point, I will move the smallest 3 into a tub together and have the largest 3 in a tub together, just to give the smaller ones hopefully some opportunity to catch up on their growth rate. So there we go, folks. Welcome to the new babies. Bazooka over here, Zapfino. This one is Bembo. We have Trebuchet. We have Vagabond, and we have Nordstern. And these guys go through protein and calcium like crazy, because they are, of course, growing very fast. They're turning all of that into snail and shell and poop. So they get fed a bit more regularly than the adults, and they get a lot more protein and calcium because they really do need it. They have a little bit of enrichment in here. They have some little coconut halves, and they have a branch and a half log, which they do use, and a few cork flats in there. I do want to provide them with some more enrichment and add some plants, but I think I'm going to do that when I have them in separate tubs. When I have them in the 2 groups of 3 together, that's when I'll start to add more plants and a little bit more enrichment for each of the groups of 3. So there we go, folks. These are the Typeface Tykes, and we will keep you updated with all of their progress as they grow up and get bigger and start to show more of their personality here at the Legless Zoo.